Maybe you've noticed that even when you start the week with good intentions, by Wednesday everything feels scattered and heavy again. But what if the solution isn't to do more, but to build one simple, gentle rhythm that helps you start each week feeling clearer and more grounded? That rhythm is what I call a weekly reset, a small, intentional practice that helps you pause, realign, and prepare for the days ahead without adding another task to your list. In a life that constantly pulls your attention in 10 different directions, a weekly reset gives you a moment to breathe and decide what actually matters right now. When you make this a regular habit, you start to notice that the chaos doesn't disappear, but it feels less overwhelming because you have a reliable way to come back to center. The key is to stop treating your reset like another chore and instead see it as a permission slip to let go of the week's clutter, both mental and physical. In this video, I'll walk you through a calm, step-by-step process for creating your own weekly reset, no rigid rules, just something that fits your real life. So let's start by looking at the one thing most people miss when they try to reset their week. A weekly reset is simply a dedicated time each week to pause and prepare for what is ahead. It is not about adding more tasks to your schedule, but about creating a sense of calm and control. Think of it as a gentle checkpoint where you tidy up your space and your mind before the next week begins. This could be as simple as reviewing your calendar, clearing out your email inbox, or just sitting quietly for a few minutes. Many people misunderstand this as a rigid chore, but it is actually a flexible practice that adapts to your life. The real benefit is that it helps you feel less reactive and more intentional about how you spend your time. A weekly reset is your permission to slow down and get your bearings before the chaos picks up again. Understanding this foundation is key, so let us explore why this practice matters so much for your everyday well-being. When you do not have a weekly reset, your days can start to blur together into one long, stressful stretch. This matters because your brain needs small, predictable breaks to feel safe and grounded. Without these pauses, you are more likely to feel overwhelmed by small problems that pile up over time. A simple reset gives you a moment to breathe and see your life from a clearer perspective. It is easy to think you are too busy for this, but that is exactly when you need it the most. The relief comes from knowing you have a built-in buffer between the chaos of one week and the demands of the next. This small habit can protect your energy and keep you from burning out over the long run. Now that you see why it matters, let us look at what life actually feels like when this practice is missing. Without a weekly reset, you might find yourself constantly playing catch-up with forgotten tasks and appointments. Your home and workspace can become cluttered, which only adds to your mental load. You may wake up on Monday morning already feeling tired and dreading the week ahead. Small things like a missed bill or a lost item can feel like major crises because there is no room for error. The truth is, this chaotic feeling is not a sign that you are failing, but a sign that you need a better system. When you skip the reset, you are essentially asking your brain to carry everything without a break. This constant state of reaction leaves you feeling drained and disconnected from your own priorities. Recognizing this pattern is the first step, so let us talk about the common habits that keep you stuck in this cycle. Before we move on, I have a quick question for you. What part of creating a weekly reset feels most doable for your life right now? Maybe it is setting aside a quiet hour on Sunday or just writing down 3 priorities. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Your answer might help someone else who is feeling stuck. If this video is helping you, please give it a like and consider subscribing. That way you will not miss the next practical idea we share. And if you are ready to keep going, just hit play on the next video. One of the biggest blocks is the belief that you simply do not have time for a weekly reset. Another common pattern is waiting until you feel motivated, which rarely happens when you are already exhausted. Many people also fall into the trap of trying to make their reset perfect, which turns it into another stressful task. You might also have the habit of filling every free moment with productivity, leaving no room for stillness. The misunderstanding here is that a reset has to be long or elaborate, when it can actually be very short. These blocks are normal, and they come from a place of trying to do too much at once. The good news is that you can gently let go of these patterns once you see them clearly. With that awareness, the next step is to shift your mindset about what this practice really asks of you. The first mindset shift is to stop seeing the weekly reset as another obligation and start seeing it as a gift to yourself. This matters because your attitude toward the practice determines whether it feels like a burden or a relief. Instead of thinking, I have to do this, try thinking, I get to do this for my own peace. You are not trying to be perfect, you are simply trying to be kind to your future self. A common pitfall is believing that you need to earn the rest, but rest is not a reward, it is a necessity. When you shift to this mindset, the reset becomes something you look forward to rather than avoid. This small change in perspective can make the entire practice feel lighter and more sustainable. Once you have this mindset in place, you are ready for the first practical step to begin changing your week. The first practical step is to pick a specific day and time for your reset and put it on your calendar. This does not have to be a long block of time. Even 15 minutes on a Sunday evening can work wonders. Start by simply sitting down with a notebook or your phone and writing down 3 things you want to focus on next week. You do not need to organize your entire life. Just pick the most important tasks that will bring you peace. A realistic truth is that your first few resets might feel awkward or incomplete, and that is perfectly okay. The benefit of starting small is that you build confidence and consistency without overwhelming yourself. This tiny step creates a foundation that you can slowly expand as the habit becomes more natural. Once you have your time and your focus set, you are ready to explore how to make this reset truly stick in the next part of this video. So let's talk about what a weekly reset actually looks like when you're living it, not just planning it. This matters because a lot of people imagine it as some perfect, Instagram-worthy Sunday afternoon, and that's not real life. In real life, a weekly reset is just a quiet hour where you pause, check in with yourself, and tidy up your mental and physical space. You might sit down with a notebook for 10 minutes, look at your calendar for the week ahead, and jot down one or two things you want to focus on. It's not about cleaning every corner of your home or organizing every digital file, because that would take all day and defeat the purpose. The benefit here is that you start your week feeling like you have a handle on things, not like you're already behind before Monday morning. A simple takeaway is to think of it as a gentle pause, not a huge project, just a moment to breathe and reset. From here, we can look at one simple daily habit that makes this weekly practice even easier to stick with. One daily habit that supports your weekly reset is something I call the 5-minute evening tidy. This matters because it prevents the small messes from piling up into a big, overwhelming mess by the end of the week. The idea is simple. Each evening, you spend just 5 minutes putting things back where they belong, like your keys, your bag, or that sweater on the chair. You don't need to deep clean or organize anything, just return a few items to their homes so your space feels calmer. A realistic truth is that some nights you'll skip it, and that's okay, because the goal is consistency, not perfection. The relief here is that when Sunday comes around for your weekly reset, your space isn't a disaster zone, so you can focus on the mental reset instead. A practical takeaway is to set a timer on your phone for 5 minutes each evening and see how much you can gently put away. Now, let's talk about a common mistake people make when they first try to build this weekly reset habit. If you want to build on what we talked about today, I have a suggestion. Head over to www.happylifetribe.com for more simple tools like this. You will find practical ideas for reducing chaos and making space for what matters. The site is full of encouragement and calm, gentle guidance for everyday life. It is not about big transformations, just small, helpful shifts you can actually try. Whether you are looking for a weekly reset template or a quick mindfulness tip, it is all there. No pressure, no hype, just real support for a calmer week. Take a look when you have a moment and see what fits your life. A common mistake people make is trying to do too much during their weekly reset, turning it into a full-blown chore session. This matters because when you overload the reset with tasks, it stops feeling like a reset and starts feeling like another obligation. The mistake is thinking you need to catch up on everything you neglected during the week, like laundry, emails, and deep cleaning, all in one sitting. In reality, a weekly reset should only include a few small actions that help you feel grounded, not a list of everything you've been avoiding. A realistic truth is that if your reset feels exhausting, you're probably trying to fix too much at once, and that will make you want to quit. The helpful insight here is that a reset is about letting go of the week, not fixing every problem from it. A simple takeaway is to limit your reset to 3 small things like clearing your desk, reviewing your schedule, and setting one intention. Next, let's explore how to make this whole process feel realistic instead of overwhelming, especially if you're busy. To make a weekly reset feel realistic, you have to lower the bar for what counts as a successful reset. This matters because if you set the bar too high, you'll avoid doing it altogether, and then you're back to chaos. The idea is to define your reset as the smallest possible version that still gives you some relief, like 10 minutes of quiet reflection. You can even do it on a Monday morning instead of Sunday if that fits your life better, because the day doesn't matter, only the pause does. A realistic truth is that some weeks your reset will be just 5 minutes of sitting still, and that is still a win. The benefit here is that when you keep it small, you actually do it, and doing it imperfectly is far better than not doing it at all. A practical takeaway is to ask yourself, what is the laziest version of a reset I can do this week? And then do that. Once you have a realistic approach, you'll start to notice some emotional and mental shifts that make the effort worthwhile. When you consistently practice a weekly reset, you start to notice a quiet shift in how you feel about the week ahead. This matters because the emotional weight of a chaotic life often comes from feeling like you have no control, and the reset gives that back. You might find yourself feeling less anxious on Sunday evenings because you know you have a plan, even if it's a loose one. There's also a sense of relief that comes from letting go of the previous week's unfinished tasks instead of carrying them into Monday. A realistic truth is that this change doesn't happen overnight, but after a few weeks, you'll notice a subtle calm that wasn't there before. The emotional benefit is that you start to trust yourself more because you're showing up for yourself in a small but consistent way. A simple takeaway is to pay attention to how you feel on Sunday evening after a few resets and notice if the dread has softened. Now, let's talk about how to keep this momentum going when life inevitably gets busy and throws you off track. When life gets busy, the first thing that usually gets dropped is the weekly reset, but that's exactly when you need it most. This matters because busy seasons are when chaos creeps in fastest, and the reset is your anchor to keep things manageable. The trick is to shrink the reset even further, down to just 2 minutes of sitting quietly and taking 3 deep breaths. You can also combine it with something you already do, like having your reset while your coffee brews on a busy morning. A realistic truth is that you will miss weeks, and that's normal because life is messy and you're human. The helpful insight here is that momentum isn't about never missing a reset. It's about coming back to it without guilt when you're ready. A practical takeaway is to keep a simple note on your phone that says reset as a gentle reminder, even on your busiest days. This brings us to the next part, where we'll look at how to make this reset a lasting part of your life, not just a temporary fix. After you've practiced your weekly reset for a few months, something starts to shift beneath the surface. You begin to notice that your weeks feel less like a scramble and more like a steady rhythm you can trust. Instead of reacting to everything that comes at you, you start moving through your days with a quiet sense of direction. Small decisions become easier because your reset has already cleared away the clutter and set your priorities. The real change isn't that life stops being busy, but that you stop feeling drained by the busyness. You start to trust yourself more because you see proof that this simple practice actually works over time. Your weekly reset becomes a reliable anchor that keeps you grounded even when unexpected things happen. This deepening calm is exactly what makes the practice worth sticking with, and it only gets stronger the longer you keep at it. You are not alone in trying to create a less chaotic life. There is a whole community of people learning alongside you. At Happy Life Tribe, we share ideas and encouragement so you do not have to figure it all out by yourself. Consider subscribing to the channel so you can keep getting these gentle reminders. You can also visit www.happylifetribe.com to connect with others who want more peace and intention. It is a space where small steps are celebrated and no one expects you to be perfect. Together, we can support each other in making life feel a little less scattered. I hope you will join us there. Even when everything is going well, there will be weeks when your reset completely falls apart. Maybe you travel, get sick, or just feel too exhausted to sit down and plan. That first missed reset can feel like a failure, especially when you are finally building momentum. The truth is that no one does this perfectly forever, and expecting perfection only sets you up for discouragement. A skipped week does not erase the progress you have already made, even if your mind tries to convince you otherwise. The challenge here is not the setback itself, but how quickly you judge yourself for it. When you can accept that some weeks will be messy, you take away the power of that guilt. Recognizing this pattern early helps you bounce back sooner, which leads us right into what to do when you slip. The moment you notice you have missed your reset, the best move is to start fresh right where you are. Do not wait for Monday or the perfect time. Just open your notebook and reset for the rest of this week. A shortened version of your reset, even just 5 minutes of writing down your top 3 priorities, can pull you back on track. The goal is not to catch up on everything you missed, but to reestablish that sense of control even in a small way. Remind yourself that one rough week does not mean your whole system is broken, it just means you are human. In fact, learning to recover without guilt is what actually strengthens your long-term consistency. Every time you come back after a slip, your reset becomes more resilient and more your own. As you practice this recovery, you will start to see exactly who benefits most from this kind of structure. This weekly reset practice helps anyone who feels like their life is running them instead of the other way around. People who juggle multiple roles, like work, family, and personal goals, often find the most relief from this approach. It also helps those who struggle with decision fatigue because the reset clears away all the small choices before the week begins. If you are someone who constantly feels guilty about forgetting things or letting people down, this practice gives you a system to rely on. But it is not just for busy people. It also helps anyone who simply wants more calm and less chaos in their daily life. The reset is especially powerful for people who have tried many productivity systems but found them too rigid or overwhelming. What makes this different is that it is flexible and forgiving, designed to adapt to your real life instead of forcing you into a box. Now that you know if this fits you, let's look at a simple action plan to start today. To start your own weekly reset, pick a consistent time each week that works for your schedule, maybe Sunday evening or Friday afternoon. Find a quiet spot where you will not be interrupted and bring just a notebook and a pen. Write down 3 things from the past week that went well, even small ones, to acknowledge your efforts. Then list out your top 3 priorities for the upcoming week, focusing only on what truly matters. Look at your calendar for the week ahead and make sure you have blocked out time for those priorities. Finally, write down one thing you want to let go of, something that stressed you out and you do not need to carry forward. That is your entire reset, simple, short, and completely doable in less than 20 minutes. Once you try it even once, you will likely feel a small sense of relief, and that feeling is the best reason to keep going. The weekly reset is not a magic fix that will solve every problem, but it is a gentle tool that brings order to the chaos. Over time, it teaches you that you have more control over your life than you think, even when things feel overwhelming. The real reward is not a perfectly organized schedule, but a quieter mind and a stronger sense of self-trust. You are not doing this to become a super productive machine. You are doing it to feel more at home in your own days. Some weeks will be harder and some will feel effortless, and both are okay because you are learning a skill, not performing a task. Every time you sit down for your reset, you are reminding yourself that your time and attention are valuable. This small weekly habit can slowly reshape how you experience your entire life, one reset at a time. If you ever doubt whether it is worth it, just remember how it felt to live without it, and then trust that this quieter path is the one worth walking. As you wrap up this video, I hope you feel a little more ready to try your own weekly reset. Even just one small step can help bring a bit more order to a chaotic week. If this idea felt useful, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. For more gentle guidance and calm living inspiration, visit www.happylifetribe.com. There you will find encouragement, practical ideas, and support for building a happier, more intentional life. Remember, you don't have to do everything perfectly. Just start where you are. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I hope your week ahead feels a little lighter and a lot more manageable.